Didn't really have a choice about that. You gotta play the part, look the part, I guess, when you're in Vegas. But I will say, it was 67 inside the conference hall, so I was comfortable, even though it was 109 outside. My only critique of this, and I saw my wife on paper. So for everyone listening, we went to an event called Zenith Live. We had all of our customers from all over the world there. And they decided, like, hey, we're in Vegas. How about we do a pool party from like 6:30 to 10:30, unlimited drinks, unlimited food, loud music. And then this is great on paper until you realize we're dealing with IT dudes that the last thing they want to do is take their shirt off and their pasty white skin in the pool in front of a bunch of strangers. Like, that is not the cup of tea. So I think that was a miss, but that's okay. It was. I ended up making my way there. I will say this. So I got there late because I had 2 dinners that I went to. And so I was circling the wagon, and the last person to leave, do you know who it was? Jay. Yeah, I was there with Jay. I was like, what the hell is Jay still doing here? It was like 10:41, and he's just talking with people, taking pictures. He's so cool. It is definitely. Yeah. It was funny as I was walking over there at I think I got there literally around 10 o'clock, and I ran into a group of people, and they're like, Brian, come sit down, have dinner with us. And I looked at the table. I said, are there any customers here? And they're like, no. I'm like, no, I got things to do, guys. Just left them hanging. Yeah. There's a weird voice on the podcast this week, Chris. We should probably introduce him. All right. Well, real quick, how do you pronounce Hyundai? Say it. Say it. No, don't listen to the idiot. How do you say it, Brad? That's my boy. You're welcome on the show anytime. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. He's like a geisha. Ooh, fine. Or you were like me and you do either one of those things. The line was short. I just walked right in and I talked to a human being. So, egg on your face. Your room's ready. Oh, jeez. That's insane. You know what happened? That the hacker was like, his name was like Brian O'Reilly, right? Like he's just typing it in. Yeah, 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 yeah. Something. I'm telling you, maybe isn't it? Yeah, never mind. I can't say it. You just have to bleep it out anyway. So go on. I still don't understand, like, why is the local data there? Like, this is why we have networks. This should just be like a dumb client, like, or did it just that the apostrophe just dump everything to the local? It's like that is zero multi-tenant. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Now we know why anytime someone's like, we need to make a change to the kiosk, or like, it will take 6 months to get that pushed out because you have to sync 500,000 hotel rooms and millions of customer names. I Brad's always selling. It sounds to me like Brad was a frequent user back in the day of Cain and Abel, weren't you, buddy? Hey, let's rewind real quick. Like, what does your resume have on there? I didn't know you did anything with nuclear bombs, there, Brad. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we're happy to have you, brother. Yeah. Dude, I was astonished by the number of people carrying two phones. And it was like pockets of sales teams. Like, we all decided, Unity, baby. So now we're all carrying two phones. I'm like, I'm just sticking to one. Yeah. Yeah. And a beeper. All I know is I'm going to make them regret so they don't collect our text messages. They can, but they say that they don't. But I'm going to make them regret it. If they ever happen to open up a thread there, they're going to be like, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with this man? Yeah. What I'm telling you, dude, I'm not trying to touch anything in a hotel. It's already disgusting. Like I even have a separate bag for my shoes. So when I like, cause I might bring some dress shoes, I have a separate bag for my shoes when I put them in my luggage. Cause I'm like, I don't want to know it's on this floor in Vegas at all. Yeah. Ooh. Wow. What are you guys talking? When I was in my early years in college, that's how I got a majority of my like furniture and decor. I was just driving around long enough, you'd find a couch or a mattress. Yeah, you have the means. I don't have a sleep number yet. I want to get one. I just haven't had the time. All I'm doing is just sitting on a plane, contemplating life. So I have not bought one yet, but I will. Yeah. Man, that's a lot of devices. Good job, Fortinet, for actually selling that piece of crap security device to a bunch of people. Lowest bidder, lowest bidder. Yeah. Um, yeah, because literally every firewall vendor has had that. Like, it's oh my gosh, I'll never forget. Like TMG's been deprecated for like forever, right? Yeah, I remember talking to a customer years ago, and they were trying to get off of TMG, and I never even heard of this thing, and I'm like, man, this, yeah, yeah. I was talking with a customer, and it was already 3 years of end of life, like end of support. I think I was like, how the heck do you guys still have this, and why is it not bringing you like crazy pain? So it was it was Microsoft Security and Acceleration Server before ISA server. Yes, yeah, yeah. I've learned to not cast any aspersions anymore because before I was like, ooh, man, you guys like to make some bad decisions, and then it's just like, yeah, they never call back, so they're always going to keep it. No, they went with the vendor that took the high road, went a little less judgmental. So what's interesting about this is like I want like now that we know they came out, uh, found a remote code execution, like that's just like your entry point in. I almost feel like if you've done, let's say 14,000 devices, right? Somewhere in that number, your playbook has to be the exact same of like, once you're in, like, what do you do, right? And so that should become, is that a TTP or what would we call that? Like some type of fingerprinting of like how this person would bounce around the network. Like a, yeah. Dude, my favorite story about MITRE is Christopher Young. I met up with him in Montreal, and I was like, "Yeah, man, like, how are things going? What made you do this?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't get to tell you." So, put in all this effort, and in the MITRE Tech framework, like we can highlight what we do, and then more importantly, what we don't do, right? Because we can't boil the ocean. And so when he turned it over to, well, say somebody on the team, they're like, "Oh, this is unacceptable. We can't, like, we don't want to show this because we have there's all these things we don't solve for." And he goes, "That's the point, right? Like, we're not." Yeah, he's like, "We're trying to establish, trust with our customers, and that we know what the hell we're doing and what we're talking about, and to help them identify the gaps, because maybe they solve a lot of stuff as Zscaler, maybe they solve a lot of stuff identity, but maybe there's 6 things that they can't do with any of their tools. Which way did they go?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's wild." They're like, "Can you make it a less offensive color of the stuff we don't cover?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you gotta get, yeah." Yeah. It's architecture, baby. Expensive. I'm stealing that. Expense and depth. Okay. So I think we can all probably share maybe the cool story of the week. And so mine came, I think, Tuesday night at a dinner. And we're at a round table. We had like 30 people there. And this one gentleman, badass beard. I mean, just, I was envious, guys. I'm not going to lie. He starts talking, and I was like, "Oh, you're not from around here, are you?" He's like, "No, I'm actually from Iraq." And I was like, and so just kind of asking questions, and I was like, "So, like, how? Like, tell me about your whole immigration process, right?" He's like, "Well, he's like, I basically served in the U.S. military. I helped. I was a translator." And I was like, "Oh, like that movie, like The Covenant?" He's like, "That's exact interpreter. You're right. Yeah." I almost want to say that he was translating, though. I think he used the word translate. Yeah. So, and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Exactly like that movie." I mean, as far as what the job was entailed, he didn't carry somebody for 180 miles or whatever it was. Um, but it was crazy because I was like, "Oh, what?" And he did it for like 4 years. And I said, "Oh man, like that, just asking some questions and, like, why did you do it?" And basically he's like, "Hey, I was basically there to help my family, right, get to a better place, and to help my people stay safe." Like, I believe that what the U.S. was doing was good, and we wanted to have a good time. So it was really interesting perspective. And then I said, "Man," I was like, I'm so happy that you made it here, because in that movie, they made it seem like nobody got back over to the U.S. Zero interpreters." And he goes, "I can't speak on the Afghanis." He goes, "But for us, the Iraqis, is that there's like 100,000 of us that actually made it over." So if you just think about that scale of people, like, that's the 100,000 that lived. Like, he had lots of friends that died because they, like, they had probably the worst job in the U.S. military, right? Which is like go up and ask people that hate the people that you're working with, including you, without a gun, right? And so like he was just like, he yeah, exactly. So he kind of put his head down. He's like, yeah, we lost a lot of good people. I go, so he goes, but for me it was easy. He's like, we went through, and at the end of the thing, after the 4 years, he's like, I went up to the commander and they signed off that yes, they actually did this, and then. They did a background check. Then I came to America. As soon as I landed, had a green card, and then after 10 years, they made me a citizen. So it was this wild experience. He goes, now my whole family's here, and he goes, you'd be surprised. Like there's this huge pockets of people, and I've seen it in Scottsdale, Arizona. But he was saying in L.A., in Chicago, New York, a lot of places in Texas is where they immigrated to. So, and it was kind of neat because one of the customers, a different customer next to me, is like, dude, this is like the American dream right here. Like this, like you actually lived it and you're doing it. And like, I don't know. I thought it was pretty phenomenal. And what was funny is his name was Ahmed, which is the same name as the guy that was portrayed in that movie. So in The Covenant. Yeah. So for anyone listening, if you didn't see the movie The Covenant, I definitely recommend it. It was a good movie. Yep. So yeah. I'd have to double check his title. I would say I have no idea, to be honest with you. But yeah, very bright gentleman, and there was, yeah, he was definitely Midwest. So I think he was in Houston. So he was with that group of people. So you can imagine the companies that were there. So. Yeah, like literally put his life on the line, right? I don't think there's a better fit for someone that actually qualifies for it. Not easy. So I'm curious. Did you guys have any, like, it doesn't have to be like that, but like, did you guys have any interesting conversations with people when you got to know them a little? You nerd, you're supposed to get to know people. I love it. I will definitely say that, yeah, the Shaggy defense once again is brought up. I just realized someone from Zscaler HR is probably listening to this podcast, and he's like, Brian called out a minority and asked them how they immigrated here to the U.S. in front of 29 customers. We need to have an HR moment. I know it sounds like I promise it came from a good place, and it was well received, and it was a really cool story. Yeah, I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm a weirdo. I'm always like searching for something. Like, I feel like you sit down to meet with people and they're just like, oh, you have your hand in my pocket trying to get my money. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't really think like that. I just want to kind of get to know you. And then we can talk about cool stuff over Zoom or in person in your office. But like, if we're going to be hanging out here, like rock and roll, let's go. So we're building a belief, right, instead of trust at this point. Probably not. So let me ask you guys, do you guys know someone? I think his name is, I'm looking at his picture. I might not have the right guy, but his name is James Sanderoff. He works at Zscaler. Do you know what I'm talking about? All right, yeah, AKA The Mountain. Are we talking about the same person? Okay. Oh my God. Like, so someone came up, they're like, hey, you need to go over here and talk to that customer. I'm like, they're right by James. I'm like, I don't know who James is. They're like, you see that dude right there with the giant? I was like, oh my God, yeah, I see it. So I walk over there, do my thing, and then later that night, as I'm going back to my room, I see him. I say, hey, James, how's it going? And again, like, he's just makes me feel small, right? I think he must be 6'10", maybe. I have no idea. Anyways, I'm like, all right, it's time to say goodbye. I have to shake this meat wallet's hand, right? Like, just like, I'm like, I got to go in hard. And so I go in for the handshake. I am 110% trying to crush his hand as much as I can. And he's like, oh, someone's got some muscles. Like, he's just like looking at my arm, and we're in this we're in this deadlock, and I'm squeezing as hard as I can, and he squeezed harder, and I'm trying to squeeze harder, and like it was the world's longest handshake. It was probably a minute, 19 seconds of just like this thing, and I finally just like, oh, and then I walked away, and my forearm was like locked up. It was so sore. I was like, this dude, like I was not about. I didn't want to back down, but I was not going to win either. So. Yeah. Yeah. I was shaking like, I don't know, a bushel of bananas is the best way to describe it. Like this big old banana meat bucket. I don't even know how to say whatever that. He could have been the stunt double for the actual giant. Like that dude is a beast. Super nice guy though. But what was funny is, um, I walked by and he was there with Brian Redding, and he was knew him from back in the day. Did this acquisition. Now he's back. Yeah, Boomerang, and we're sitting there talking. At this point, it's probably really late. It's coming up towards 1 o'clock, maybe midnight. No, probably closer to midnight. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And Brian's like, man, people have been buying me shot after shot. I'm done drinking. And so I'm there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, Brian, let's one more shot. This is with me. I haven't drank all night. I was being a jerk. He's like, all right. And then James is like, I'll pay for it. And I was like, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to make him drink. I just want to see if I could get him to drink, even though he said he was done drinking. And he was all up for it. And then James is like, man, called me a couple names. He's like, yeah, only you would come by, suggested we take a shot, and then back out of it the last second. Yeah. Smart. Yeah. Convention. Yeah. So, Chris, every time you say words weirdly, our listenership just falls off the mat. It's British. I don't know what the heck you're saying. British. Like, it's just British. Like, yeah. Oof. Yeah. The only thing more whiny than developers are doctors and lawyers, I swear. These guys. Yeah. But that's a great way of doing it. Yeah, being needy. So for this, yeah. So for this British guy, how about why sneak around? It should just ended this a long time ago, man. Like what were you thinking, bro? Hey, yeah. He's like Django and Chain. He signed his own freedom papers, man. He's Brad gets it. They're pretty close to being married at this point in time, man. We had a Windows device that had a touchscreen. It was useless. It's like every once in a while. Yeah. So I don't. Go ahead, Chris. Oh yeah. I think the coolest thing is like the so I mean you can like password or Face ID some of the internal apps, but also if you're on your phone, it's looking eye tracking you. But if somebody else comes by and they start looking at it, you can close the app as well. Yeah, the shoulder surfing stuff. I think that's actually a pretty cool feature. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, dude. So there's one RSM. I won't call him out by name unless he wants to be called out. We can divulge it next week. But I had texted him because I think one night I had 3 or 4 dinners to go to and I didn't make it to him. So I had sent him a message. I was like, bro, I'm not going to be able to make it, blah, blah, blah. And then at 1:47 in the morning, I receive a text message from him and it says, it's all good. I just want to give your big old bald head a kiss. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then the next text message comes through was not for me. It was meant for his wife. And so then the next morning I wake up, I'm like, what the F, dude? And I didn't know it was for his wife, but like what came through, he goes, dude, I'm dying. I just sent it over to my wife. She saw the screen. She's like, I can't imagine what this dude is probably thinking of you right now. Oh, he did. He said he was so impaired that he didn't realize he thought he was texting his wife, and it wasn't until 8 hours later. Yeah. At the same time, it's kind of sad because like you were married, you're professing your love, and then you got divorced. Yeah. 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 I think you're gonna tell me that he was old and he was trying to say signal, but just got his words confused. He's like sessions, yeah. There you go. You should.
good dope side of a job. Swapping mag! Oh, man. What are the chances he's not monitoring this channel?
Bye, Felicia.